Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of NinaRibena's Art Journal Prompts and More. The prompt this month is repeat after me, and the challenge this week is a technique called Retiform. Retiform means net-like or grid-like, and this is a technique that I saw on Pinterest a long while ago. I haven't got round to trying it before, but it fits the prompt perfectly, and so I thought we could all give it a go. I am going to be doing an art journal page this week, and I'm working on a piece of 300 GSM smooth cardstock. My page measures 7.5 inches by 7 inches, which fits into my 8x8 spiral bound journal perfectly. I've also got a piece of scrap mixed media paper from the scrap smooth cardstock from the same sheet, and this is how I'm going to be creating my grids. And I'm going to be using distress oxides in broken china and shaded lilac. You could use any type of ink. Permanent inks are fine for this. I just want the texture from the distress oxides. You can use watercolours for this, but do go and check it out on Pinterest, because there are just loads and loads of ideas for this. So I'm going to put the video onto fast forward, just double speed, so you'll still be able to catch up, and I'll do a voiceover and talk you through exactly what I'm doing. I'm going to be creating a page full of triangles. I've drawn a mark 3 inches down from the top left hand corner, and I'm using that cardboard guide just to draw a triangle meeting up with the top right hand corner, and apply my ink in a circular motion all the way around that first triangle. I've already drawn out a grid on a plain piece of A4 paper first. Here I am applying my second triangle, and I'm making a mark just under 4 inches along the top, and aligning it up with another mark that I've made, which is 2.5 inches up from the bottom right hand corner, and again using the blending tool in a circular motion, applying that ink to create my second triangle. So as I say, I've already made a template on a plain piece of A4 paper first of all, just to make sure that I'm happy with the sizing of my triangles and the spacing, and making sure that it's even. So going from that mark that I made 2.5 inches up from the right hand side all the way to the bottom left hand corner, and again applying ink in a circular motion all the way around to create my third triangle. Then creating my fourth and fifth triangles in exactly the same way to finish the grid on my page, using post-it notes just to mask off any areas, just so that I don't get ink outside the triangular space that I'm working on at any one time. I want to add some shaded lilac over the whole of the page to cover up the white space, and I apply the ink coming in from outside of the page and working it into the centre, just to avoid having any harsh lines on the page. And I just cover the whole of the page just to get rid of all of that white space. I use the scrap piece of cardstock that I created the lines with just to hold the page in place as well, just so that I don't get any fingerprints in the distress ink. I want to add some texture to my background, so I spray some plain water from a spray bottle all over my page, and that oxidises those wonderful Distress Oxide inks. I then mop up the excess liquid using a paper towel and then dry it with my heat tool. Now I do find that the lines have faded more than I wanted them to, so I just use the guide again and apply a little bit more ink. do some stamping in my triangles, and so I want to mask off the triangles one by one using some post-it notes. I'm starting off with the centre triangle, and you can see that I'm just going round the outside using the line as a guide all the way around that central triangle until it's all completely masked off. Now my focal image is an owl from the Papermania folk art set, and I'm using Memento London Fog ink here, which is not as harsh as using black. I just wanted it more subdued, so London Fog is the perfect colour for this. So I apply the ink all over my owl and stamp it right in the middle of that central triangle, pressing nice and firmly to make sure that I've got good coverage. Then I apply some feathers around my page from the same stamp set. Now I do tell you exactly what these stamp sets are at the end of the video. I'm using 2 of the feathers from the set just to apply them randomly, making sure that I've got some overlapping the edges as well. And I just go all over that central triangle until I'm happy with the look that I achieve. So now that I've finished the central section, I want to work on the triangle on the right hand side, and so I'm masking off in exactly the same way, reusing those post-it notes. I'm using a small flower stamp from the Claudine Helmuth Doodled stamp set, and I start off by stamping my first flower in the centre of the triangle and then working around it. I just find that it's easier to get a nice even pattern by starting in the middle and working your way out. I repeat the pattern in the triangle on the left hand side, applying the post-it notes in the same way, making sure that some of those flowers hang off the edge of the triangle as well, just so that it doesn't look too uniform. So to finish off the stamping in the top and bottom triangles on the page, I'm using a flower stamp from a Dylusions Dyan Reaveley stamp set. Again, I'll leave the details in the description box below, but it's very similar to the Claudine Helmuth flower that I used in the left and right triangles, but just slightly larger. And again, I'm applying those flowers in exactly the same way. Now I could have left my page at this, just with these stamped images, but I've decided I want to add some colour to my stamped images, and I'm using Prismacolor pencil crayons to do this. These are lovely and waxy and they blend beautifully together. I'm only using half a dozen colours. I use a couple of shades of pinks, a couple of purples and some blue, and I just use the same colours in all of the triangles as well, just so that the page doesn't get too busy. And I'm just building up layers here. You can see on this feather that I've used 2 shades of pink, and I'm now using the white to blend the colours together. I think I do end up adding some deeper purple and blue to this feather, and I just work on all of these stamped images around the page, applying the pencil in the same way. I'm not going to show you the whole process because there are plenty of videos out there showing you how to blend your Prismacolors. I'm no expert on this and I've probably got a very heavy hand, but I'm really happy with the end result that I achieve. I'm using a regular 6B graphite pencil just to define the features of my owl, working on the eyes. I also outline the wings as well. I also define the flowers just to make them bolder and stand out more on the page. And I'm just, adding scribbly lines around those petals, which I later smudge with a blending stump, just to add a little bit of shading. Finally, I'm just using a white Neocolour 2 crayon just to add some white detail to the centre of my flowers, and that just really makes those flowers stand out nice and bold. Just adds a little bit more detail. And so here's my finished art journal page. I didn't show you the whole of the colouring in process just because it would have been hugely boring. I showed you how I did the feathers, and I coloured everything else in much the same way. And I used my Prismacolor Premier pencil crayons. I bought these a couple of years ago at the same time that I bought the Susie Blue face book, Drawing Faces. And she recommended that you use the Prismacolor pencils because they're really, really waxy. Well, I just never persevered with drawing faces. I'm not very good at drawing faces, and I need to really sit down and spend a lot of time practicing, and I just never seem to find the time or make the time. I never seem to make the time, but I thought, seeing as I've got them in my stash, I should use them, and they were perfect for doing the colouring in for this. I need lots more practice. You're supposed to start off very, very lightly and build up the layers. Well, I've got a heavy hand, so all of my details here were created using the Prismacolor pencils, and then of course you saw me use my Neocolour 2s, just the white one at the end, just to add some details around the flowers. And then finally I used a Hobbycraft 6B charcoal graphite pencil, just to define the details around the flowers as well, just to make them stand out a bit more. I also defined the details on my owl as well. I've defined the wings and the face and eye details, so that makes that stand out. Let me just show you the detail on the owl. Let me hold it up closer. I drew the feathers on using my Prismacolor pencils, and then I blended everything with the white. In fact, that's how I've done this. I've blended all my colours using the white pencil, and it works beautifully. And just makes it look waxy, and I just love that effect. And then just to finish off my page, I added a Tim Holtz quote: sometimes you have to take chances, creativity takes courage. And I think that's so true. We've been trying out lots of new techniques recently, and some we love, some we don't like quite as much, but how do you ever know whether you're going to enjoy something if you never ever try it? And sometimes these techniques are frightening as well, and scary, and just give it a go. Nothing has to be perfect. Now, I could have stopped. I've got another page somewhere. Where is it? Before I coloured things in, I could have stopped at this point here. And if you search Retiform on Pinterest or on Google, you'll find lots of pages and tags, especially, and card fronts where it's just a stamp technique with no colour added. And those can be just as effective. So you don't have to go to the extremes. I know that some of you are not, patient enough to sit there. This took a long time. I probably sat there for well over 2 hours. Building up my layers and colours for this, and you don't have to. If you want to stop at this point here, then you can do, and that's really quick and easy. So grab your post-it notes and give this a try. Now, as far as the stamp sets that I used, the owl was from this Do Crafts Papermania Urban Stamps. I used the large owl, And I used these two feathers here. I didn't use this one just because the sticky seems to have gone from the back and I couldn't find my repositional glue, so I just used those two there and the large owl. That was for the central section. I used this little tiny flower here for the smaller flowers, and this is from a Claudine Helmuth. I think it's called Doodle stamp set, Doodle Days, something like that. And then the larger flowers here were from this Dylusions stamp set by Dyan, Reaveley, and it's How Does Your Garden Grow, and it was just the small flower here that I used for that. So those are the stamps that I used. And then, as I say, it's just a Tim Holtz chit chat word. Sometimes you have to take chances. Creativity takes courage. So that is my journal page for this week. So as I say, the prompt this month is repeat after me, and your challenge this week, if you want to have a go at it, is Retiform. And I look forward to seeing how everybody decides to interpret the prompt this week. Have fun with it. Don't stress over it, and take care, everyone. I shall see you all again soon. If you enjoyed the video, as always, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up and let me know what you think in the comments below. Bye for now.